You can live off grid even when essentially broke. I'm going to tell you how, and that's no joke. Hello, this is Greg Allison from Green Greg's Garden and Worm Farm, coming to you from my future front porch in front of my tiny home. I do plan to build a front porch here. Right now I'm sitting on the ground. As you can see, one thing I got is a big chimney sticking up there from my interior wood stove. Yes, I live off grid here, and we're going to explore how you can do it even with little to no money. How did I do this, and how could you do it cheaper than I did it? We're going to talk about that. So what you need to know is that most of you are paying rent for most of the places you're living. You're paying utilities. I mean, I did some research to find what was the average rent paid by the lower end middle class person. And the lower end, that's on the order, well, rent and utilities together is on the order of like about $1,400 a month. About $1,400 a month for both rent and utilities. And if you look at that over a year, that's $16,800 a year. Never mind, you got to buy groceries, you got to eat, and other things too. So, you know, that adds up in a hurry, especially if you're on a very limited income. So how in the world can you break out of that? Well, one is quit paying rent. Quit paying rent. And well, Greg, how in the world do you do that? Now, I know some of you already shack up with friends, you have roommates, but that's not always easy to do. And sometimes it's just hard to get along with other people. There's a lot of drama when you get roommates, especially if you bring somebody else in your house and they decide they don't want to pay or they're a problem and you need to get them out. It gets to be exceedingly difficult. So there are better ways to do that. I want to tell you how, and how eventually you might wind up with your own tiny home or something like that. I do have my own solar arrays. I do not pay electrical utilities. I have my own little building here where the batteries are at, and you can see I've got a Starlink terminal right on top of that, and that's a fan, solar panel, to run that little fan to keep my batteries from a big solar panel clear. And I got a cat down here that wants attention. So, well, one of the ways you can do this to get started is you don't even have to buy property. You don't have to live in a tiny home. I want to talk to you about a pathway to get there. But to be honest, I actually lived in this van here for several months, inside this van. Nothing to brag about, it's a minivan. And it's one of the newer, it's not so new now, but you know, after the year 2000, they started making them shorter. So this is one of the shorter versions. But I lived in here for several months, even in this van. But the one I lived in the most, I lived in this van right here. This van, for some of you that saw a lot of my older videos, you know, I spent a lot of time in this van. I've lived in this van for about a year while I was building my tiny home, while I was moving. You can see it's got a solar panel on top. Not a real big solar panel, but it was enough to charge my laptops, enough for me to work. And I had a little privacy curtain in there, so you're not going to see inside of it. I had privacy. It's not a one of those raised ceiling vans that gives you a lot of room, but I managed to get by. I managed to survive quite nicely. Yeah, everybody wants a newer vehicle, but you know what? The newer vehicles, you pay through the nose for them because you're paying payments, and you got to pay premium insurance premiums. It costs a fortune to drive a new vehicle. I had a lady friend who was spending more money on her vehicle and insurance than I was on the house when I lived in Tony, Alabama, than what I was paying on payments. That's insane. Why do it? You can buy an old vehicle for, sometimes you can get them for $1,200. I bought this van for $400. And yeah, you got to do some maintenance on them. But my finding is that the maintenance, the purchase price and the maintenance on old vehicles is far, far, far cheaper than buying a new vehicle. So yeah, everybody's, oh, buy new vehicles to save maintenance, I have to do maintenance. Yeah, no, you know what? You're spending more money. You're not spending more money. You're spending a lot more money. It's insane. You will save a lot of money, especially if you know how to work on them. Learn how to work on them, and you can save even more money on the maintenance. And you don't have to do maintenance on them all the time. Believe it or not, it's just every now and then. And usually a repair job is about 1 or 2 months payments on a regular payment on a vehicle. Sometimes a lot cheaper. especially if you do the work yourself. What you pay for is shop labor. You know, parts aren't that expensive, it's the shop labor. So if you can learn how to do it, hey, that's what YouTube videos are good for. Maybe find a mechanic friend to help you out. You could save a ton of money. So that's another thing you can save on. You can save on rent, utilities, and car payments by going to an older car. Now, if you get one big enough, you can live in it. That saves your rent. But guess what? There are people that live in small cars. Some people live in tiny cars, and they stay that way. They're happy with it. Why? Because they got freedom. You don't have all the payments. It's cheaper. They sometimes take the passenger seat out. They'll take out the back seat and build a bed back there. Just different approaches. You can see YouTube channels on doing that. So it's not that bad. It's doable. It's a different lifestyle. You got to get accustomed to it. But the freedom it buys you is a lot. So what do you do about parking? Well, there's public land. There's BLM land. There's national parks. There's a lot of places. Just do the research where you can go camp out for free and live on these properties. You just got to kind of drive around some. And eventually you save up enough money, you can buy your own property and park your van on there. Now you got to look in the county and the county regulations where you go. Some counties only allow you to do that for maybe 6 months at a time. But eventually you can build a home or buy a couple of cheap properties, move around, stay on that property in the wintertime or springtime when you're growing a garden, and go out to the BLM properties. In fact, I think you could actually probably stay there almost 6 weeks, take a little trip and come back. Do that. That's probably some way around. But you know what? Most of them don't check. There's people that live on those properties full time for years on end. And most of the time it's a situation that nobody's going to say anything unless you're reported for it. And to be reported, you've got to really tick somebody off. So if you do that, you probably don't have some friends that aren't good friends. In any event, that is a way that you can actually get by. Now, here's the thing. Most Americans' debt is $7,000 to $10,000. If you're living in just a car and you're staying in parks, you could pay that off maybe in a year just from what you would have saved and not paying rent and utilities. And you can buy properties out here in different places that you could pay off in a year. You could just save up the money while you're living on BLM land or national park lands, traveling around, having a good time. And guys, that's the life. You know, camping out, seeing beautiful country, parks, maybe fishing, hiking. Hey, a lot of people don't want to give that up. They start it and they decide, no, this is the way I'm going to live. I love it. There's a lot of people that do that. And once they get into it, they ain't going out of that. So you might decide that's the way for you. And if you do, hey, that's fine. You can live on public lands. There's lots of it. It's owned by the public, which includes you. So, my friends, that is one way. But think of all the money you could save in rent, save car payments if you're not buying an expensive car. If you've got an expensive car with big payments, sell it. Why do that? I got several vehicles. They're all old. Every vehicle I own is technically an antique. It's over 20 years old. They weren't all 20 when I bought them. Some were older. I got a truck that's over 50 years old, and it's just fine. So these are things I advise. But now let's go back to this, how you get there from here. So think about it. If you can pay your debt, you might choose either one, buy a property first or pay down your debts first. Either one has its advantages. If you pay down your debts first, it might be easier if you buy your property, especially if the money you saved is more for a down payment. And if you're going to buy property down payment, look for owner financing because it's usually a lot more flexible if you can find it. A lot of owners are afraid to sell property that way because they don't want, if they really need the money, they get stuck and don't get the money a lot of times. So yeah, it just depends on who's selling. But you can buy properties outright around here that are pretty cheap. I know a place where you can get 2 1/3 acres for about $12,000. Now, actually, that's what I paid for 40 acres here 6 years ago. You will not get that now. No, nowhere close. The land here, which this is still listed as undeveloped on Zillow. Like there's nothing here, no roads, no house, no nothing. For that, it's valued by Zillow at $53,000. Once everything shows up, the house, the solar arrays, and all that. It'd probably be better than ponds, the roadways, the plumbing. Yeah, this is probably $150,000, $160,000 property already out here for what all I put into it. Now, this would actually bring more than my property in Alabama brought. I got gypped on that. I thought I was going to pay off all my debts, and that didn't work out for me. But I bought this property at a steal at a time when I could, and I just knew it was a steal, so I got it. Now, that said, you can buy other properties out here, reasonable price. You're usually paying for undeveloped property out here. You can expect to pay 40 acres, anywhere from $40,000 to $60,000. Undeveloped, nothing on it, no well, no power, maybe a road, maybe $40,000 to $60,000 for the property. So a little better than $1,000, $1,500, some places more than that. For if you're going for something like 3 acres, 4 acres, you might pay $39,000. I mean, I'm serious. Just a few acres on a per acre basis is generally a lot more expensive than a 40-acre plot. But it all depends on where it's at, how well it's developed, is there a power line to it, different factors like that. But you can definitely find things in your range. Even a property, if you buy it at $50-some-odd thousand, if you can make a down payment on it after saving up for a year and then make regular payments, you know, it's going to be a lot cheaper than renting a house. It's going to be a lot cheaper than other means of living. And you can build your own home and build it the way you want it. You don't have to have a big house. Get out of that idea. Get away from it. Scale down. It's easier to maintain, easier to heat, easier to cool. It's just easier on everything, especially your pocketbook. But you can work your way into it. Do you know that a lot of construction sites have leftover materials? They usually bury them, throw them away, put them in a landfill. A lot of times you can pick up a lot of that. There are people who built nice homes from leftover materials out of landfills. Hey, you can do a lot with shipping crate stuff. And my cats are down here, meow, meow. So keep all that in mind. There are ways that you can get out of debt, and you can actually buy your own property, build your own home, and do it fairly cheap. The first thing is probably just live in a car and live on national park land. Live somewhere close to where you work, hopefully. You can get jobs on national parks. You can make a little money doing YouTube, because if you're living an adventurous lifestyle like that, a lot of people would be interested. You can make a little money. A lot of people just work in restaurants, washing dishes. Restaurants are always needing, fast food places, somebody to work. It's not a good pay, but it's enough to get you by. You can definitely live on it if you're living out of a car, and then still save a little money. Because it really shouldn't cost you that much money when you're living in a car, guys. And if you're really judicious, you can save a lot of money on food. You're not paying utilities. Just think of all the money. Just rack your bills up and see what you could save. Just look at your own budget and think about it. Like I said, one of the cool things is that you can you could buy the property first, especially if you need to put up a Starlink or something. But you got portable Starlinks. You got other mobile options if you can work remotely, kind of like I've been working here for the last couple of years, which I'm not sure that's going to continue. But that would help if you're doing YouTube. If you got a set job in one place, there are people that still live in their vehicles and do it in town. So if you want to stay with that, there are ways to do that. You just have to be judicious on your approach. Are you planting your fall garden yet? This is a perfect time to start planting your fall garden. Your fall garden, there's a lot of greens you can grow, radishes and different things like that, beets. One of the best sources for seeds like that is True Leaf Market. Check out my link to True Leaf Market, my affiliate marketing link. It'll be in the show notes posted below. You can get some really good seeds from True Leaf Market. That property is almost diagonal from my property, maybe just a little bit over. I got this on Zoom. It is asking $135,000. It is just under 40 acres. It is not fixed up as well as mine. As you can see, I'm kind of panning back and forth. Got some kind of little shed, a little chicken coop. But a tiny home. I think it's a little bit smaller than mine. I don't think it's as high or quite as wide. But they're asking $135,000 for that property there, and they'll probably get it. that property doesn't have a well to have water hauled in like I do. They don't have water pumped all over the place. They don't have ponds. They don't have all the road work I do. So it's not going to be, and it's not really as pretty a property as mine. But they're asking $135,000 for it, and that's about what places somewhat fixed up around here bring. There is 1.17 acres here that's for sale for $9,500. Just slightly less than what I paid for my 40. But that's not really a bad price, and you could fix this up and you can grow everything you need on far less than an acre. I've shown how to do that in the past. You can grow all the food you need. You can build you a nice little home. And if you look around, probably not the richest neighborhood in the world, except there is a big mansion back over here. Yeah, back over there, there's a big mansion. But, you know, you got people living in mobile homes, basically, and little travel trailers out here. Ain't nobody, you know, it's technically you're not supposed to do that, but nobody's saying anything to them about it. So there you are. Not a bad place, something to think about. Yeah, that'd be your closest neighbor. There are a couple of lots out here for sale that have 2 1/3 acres each for about $12,000 each. You know, this is pretty country right here. Anything you want to do on that kind of land. See a bit of a vista off there in the distance. And the hill over there is another hill back the other way. So it's kind of scenic. A lot of plants growing here. So this would be a fair property for a homestead. It's kind of remote. There are some houses around here, but they tend to be, it's a mix. You get some nice homes like way over there. And you get some people living out of truck campers in some of these areas around here. And you can see there's some other hills around here. So it's a fairly scenic area. Got some prickly pears. So it's a mix, but not a bad place for $12,000 for a lot that's, you know, is bigger than the lot I had in Alabama. So you could do a lot on that lot, I guarantee you. I did a lot on my lot, which is just 1.9 acres in Alabama. This is a little more than that. Fairly scenic. Something to think about. There is land out here. There are things to be had. A lot of times you can buy old house trailers for cheap and move them on your property. Some of those you can get real cheap. You just have to make sure you get one that's sound. And some people do all kind of construction. So you can see, if you do want to come out here and live off the grid like me, there's a lot of options. Even if you are practically broke, there are ways, if you got very little income, that you can manage it. But you got to be frugal. You got to be smart. You got to be willing to take some sacrifices. I'm not going to say it's easy, but you can do it. And when you do it, you get a certain amount of peace, a certain amount of freedom. No, everything getting free price-wise. And there are, you know, regulations in every county you move in. You got to deal with permitting requirements and things like that. You need to check those out before you buy your property to see if you can do what it is you intend to do or how you might work around it, what else you might do, what your options are. But these are all things to keep in mind. But it is doable and you can do it. So think about it if that's what you want to do. If you don't want to do it yourself, maybe you can use this information to inform somebody else. So there are definitely a lot of choices that you can use to go off grid, and properties you can buy too that you could probably afford, especially if you're not paying a house and utilities and new car payments. All things to take into account, my friends. I hope this video helped. If it did, please subscribe, bang the bell, and click all. And for another interesting video, click up here.